Hey, what's up, guys? John here. I believe one of the hardest ways to make money over the next year or so will likely be investing in real estate. And the reason I say this is some really big changes are coming out from the White House and from many cities all around the nation that are coming forward with these new modifications, changes, and costs that are going to be pushed over to property owners and to investors. So if you are on Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, by the way, add me on IG, and you're seeing people talk about house flipping and house hacking and wholesaling and all these different things, this was an incredible way to make money last few years, no doubt about it. But here's what's going on that you need to pay close attention to make sure that you don't get rug pulled like the millions of other Americans that are about to. And also, today's video is sponsored by GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you need help fixing your credit, maybe you want to invest in distressed real estate when things, heat up like they're going to right now. We'd love to help you at GreatCreditFast.com or give us a call, 561-430-5900. Maybe you have a bad credit and you simply want to do a balance transfer or put yourself in a better position. We can also assist with fixing your credit so you can get approved for something like that. So take a look at this, whitehouse.gov. Whitehouse.gov fact sheet. Biden-Harris administration announces new actions and investments to lower energy costs, make affordable homes more energy efficient, right? And so if you look at how this all plays out, it's fascinating. So they're even going to have something to where they're going to be able to, reduce the cost with building materials. This cost, of course, not your actual financial cost. They're going to be able to track multifamily housing energy usage, right? They're going to be able to track the energy. Lower lending costs for senior housing. They're going to connect everyone to low-cost solar power, right? Connecting families to that. And they're going to be able to predict this. That's interesting. They're going to be able to predict it. I could almost promise you, if the prediction is that the area in which you want to build, live, or reside is of higher risk, insurance prices are going to be going up. The cost to borrow likely is going to continue to rise, specifically for those higher areas, higher risk locations. So, that part might be speculation, but is this? Look at this, MiamiGov.com. MiamiGov.com. Now, look at what Miami Gov, and it doesn't get any more legitimate than this. They lay out the framework here. But they say that 2035, 60% reduction in this, right? So 60% reduction by 2035. So, 11 and a half years, give or take, right? 11 and a half years, 60%. Well, New York, they're now going to be issuing fines to over 800,000 apartments. And the fines for year one, $200 million. $200 million in fines, and it's something like 5,500 buildings or 5,440 buildings must comply, right? And on top of that, it's going to go to $900 million a year by 2030. And then every year it's a tier. So right now it's 5,540. You're like, okay, that's not that bad. Well, every year more are going to be added. So 6.5 years would be 13,500 properties, fined almost $1 billion. So the big question that I have is if you bought multifamily or commercial property in New York City the last 5 years, and you bought it at record low interest rates, and then we're stepping into a situation with record high vacancies and higher property tax and insurance, with borrowing costs going through the roof, how does one refinance to be able to pull money out to be able to do all these upgrades? Or how can someone even just get the refinance in the first place, right? We're going to start to see a wave of problems unfold in a place like New York City and a place like Miami, because it's the same exact timelines, basically. I mean, they're achieving the same things by certain years, and so we're going to see some big changes. Huge. Look at this, New York NYC.gov, right? 20%. They're saying that emissions are 20% from food production, right? Production from consumption of food, 20%, and then they say 35% are buildings, 21% transportation. Very, very similar to the breakdown for New York City. Right? So how does this all play out? Here's what I think is going to happen here. I think we're going to see a wave of foreclosures. We're going to see financial hardship in this economy that we've never seen before. I'm not saying this is scare anyone, but just answer the question. How does anyone afford to refinance their buildings and then move forward into a direction in which they have to do these upgrades? Now, granted, places like Miami, maybe it might be a little bit more flexible. Maybe they get another year, 2 years, 3 years out of it. But regardless, if your borrowing costs are 7.5% and you bought a $20 million building for 2.95% and it was fixed for 3 years and now you have to refinance at 7 or 8%, you're toast. It's over. right? There's $2.5 trillion, $2.4 trillion in overall debt that needs to be restructured, commercial loans over the next 24 months. So as that's happening, this is starting to come in. Like, how does this not happen? And fascinatingly, this conversation, when they mentioned the 20% food emissions, they're going to be moving into this direction. Like, for example, my fiance says she's going to raise our kids vegan, claims eating meat is as bad as this, right? Well, now we remember the last 3 years. Everyone was either, it was based on the conversation, you're either left or right, or maybe you got this or you didn't get this, or maybe you have this belief or that belief because of what the media has been kind of pounding in us, right? In our head. And so now this topic, that highly triggering conversation, is now being pushed into the conversation of eating meat, right? Interesting, especially considering that today they said the company could take lab-grown meat mainstream thanks to green light from the FDA, same day, right? So what I think is going to happen is I think that we're going to be moving into a direction that's going to greatly impact food consumption, as they've talked about for years, but many people just wanted to ignore it by calling it, tinfoil hat. But as this is happening, we're going to start seeing all these changes across property. Now, I'm not saying property is a bad investment. I'm not saying that by any means. I love property. I love real estate. I think most great fortunes are made in property. But in this world that has a lot of change occurring, it would make sense to speak with your local building and safety, local zoning department, see what changes and expectations could likely be pushed forward on you to make sure that you're not going to get hit with any great curveballs like what we're likely going to see in many, many areas nationwide. And also, another fascinating thing that's happening right now is due to record high inflation and this, eat the rich type of, debate and conversation that's been kind of pushed out in the media. They're going to basically, like a place like New York City, 20% of overall tax revenue is generated from commercial property. But when commercial properties are tanking in value, and likely will continue to tank in value as these costs are being pushed onto these property owners, they're going to have less tax revenue. So how do police departments and schools and fire departments and local social services and all this stuff, how do they get funded, right? If their revenue is $1 out of $5 is coming from commercial property, and commercial property is going to get hit, there's going to be sacrifices that are going to be made in a lot of these areas. And what I think is going to happen is more of this. Participants will receive $1,000 a month for 18 months and then $500 a month for 18 months after that. Local guaranteed income pilots like Bridge Project, which give out direct payments without conditions like work requirements, gain popularity during this. So it's a big transfer, right? It's a big transfer of attention and beliefs, and it's going to have an impact. There's no doubt about it. And I think any smart and savvy investor is paying close attention to this. Like, for example, I was interviewing an attorney maybe a year and a half ago. We had a conversation, and when he started putting his beliefs into the conversation, I started to question his judgment. I didn't hire him, right? You have to look at the same thing when you're investing with anyone. When you're spending money, when you're investing, when you're doing something. Is this person looking at the past and saying that the past is going to be the future, or are they really studying what's going on in the world, and they're looking at true fundamentals, and they're paying very, very close attention to how these new changing fundamentals are going to impact the viability of that investment? That's what I think smart investors are doing. I think they're paying very close attention to all of the details. Because when it's in front of us and it's happening in every single state, for example, they put out today that 25% of homelessness they want to reduce in places like California. California has over 200,000 homeless people. So you're talking 50,000 homeless people off the street. How do you build that overnight? They're talking the same thing in Arizona, in Dallas, places people would have said, oh, they would never move in with those policies there. It's going to be a nationwide thing. So that's my suggestion. If you're in a certain area, you want to do a ground up build, you want to do something in real estate, pay close attention to these changes. I do think there's going to be massive opportunities to step in there and pick up distressed property and potentially do these changes yourself if the numbers pencil out and it makes sense to do it. Because there's not going to be, I believe, many people that are going to have the ability to put this into their budget. Especially, we're going to see these massive fines take place in 5 months in New York. 5 months. Maybe they'll try to do a last-minute extension, like they normally do. Oh, maybe we'll give you 90 days or 6 months, or we're working with you. This is a group effort to save the world. Maybe, but maybe not. Maybe January 1st, they do hit you with $200 million in fines. And then we start seeing a liquidation of these assets. At the same time, Jerome Powell, its interest rates are going up in the short term. It's going to be a very huge opportunity for smart and savvy investors that are putting in the work and studying and learning what's going on. What do you think? Drop it below. Hit the like button. Subscribe here and subscribe also my second channel. On this channel, I'm going to do a call-in show. I'm working on getting some investors and people that are, they have the fingers on the pulse of what's going on here. Because I want to know what new requirements, what new restrictions, what new policies are going to be coming down the road that they are aware of that no one else is talking about, so we can protect and provide for ourselves and our family by making smart, well-informed decisions. Also, if you want to fix your credit, we'd love to help you. We're in the greatest wealth transfer of all time. The worst situation would be walking into a deal and not being able to close on it, and it's an incredible investment because you have bad credit and you can't get funding. So we'd love to help fix your credit at greatcreditfast.com. That's greatcreditfast.com, or give us a call, 561-430-5900. Catch you guys in the next video.